Hey guys, it's Tony from Pro Edge Paintball, and today we're here with Craig from DLX Shocker Paintball, and he's got the Shocker ERA or Era.
Yep, so as you mentioned, it's a Shocker Era. Aesthetically, we wanted to pay homage to a lot of the previous markers. You'll notice the knurled back cap throws back to the shoebox. You have the mill in the side of the body, very similar to the NXT, and then that very simple smooth milling from the SFT. Also, you've seen we increased the reg size by about 30%, and you'll notice this metal protrusion here, it actually locks the grip on so you don't have any movement there. We've de-shrouded the reg, de-shrouded the barrel, so if you do drop it, you're less likely to bend something that could cause damage to the marker. With that also being said, you'll notice that the frame is pocketed into the body. So that's going to do a couple things. First and foremost, it prevents paint and water intrusion to those contact points. It helps with alignment when you put the frame on. And then finally, it actually provides physical support of the frame everywhere except for here. So when you're looking at those proportional forces of diving and so forth, you're going to be much less likely to damage the frame or the body because of the way that's designed. The ASA aesthetically looks very similar, but internally it's had a redesign. There's actually two seals in there now. So in the amp, there was a single seal that sealed on both sides. The Era has a dual seal, and then it's actually completely toolless. So you can rebuild your ASA just by grabbing it with a pair of pliers, change the O-rings, and put it back in. One of the things I harp on with is that it's based on hundreds of hours of player feedback. So one of the number one things we noticed is we analyzed why people were sending guns back to their factory. Why did we have to repair it that the customer couldn't? And the number one thing was the frame to body port and the body to frame port, or the frame to ASA port. The reason for that is because it was Loctited into the frame and it was Loctited into the ASA. So what would happen is when you expose the gun to extreme temperatures, for example, locking it in a hot car at 110 degrees, it would weaken the Loctite. So what we've done is now we have a floating port between the frame and the body and a floating point between the body and the ASA. So there's no Loctite in this gun whatsoever. So one, reliability drastically increases it there. But beyond that, say you choose to have your gun re-anodized, you can take all the ferric metal out of here and send it off to be anodized without issue. So the body plug even itself is not Loctited. You pull it out, there's a crush washer, you pull that out, you pull your other body plug out, and you can send it out to anodize. So no magnets, no steel is gonna remain in there, so that's huge. The bolt system in and of itself, I joke that we've color-coded it. Blue is new, black is the same. So the part that actuates the shuttle, really you don't much change because the shuttle doesn't change in function. And again, the air chamber, again, doesn't change in function. Efficiency-wise, it's going to be exactly the same as the amp. Operating pressure is going to be the same as the amp. Where the advantage comes is in the extremes of paint handling. So in very small paint, very large paint, very brittle paint, we found that there was areas we could improve. So when you look at the bolt face, you'll notice our anti-rollback feature.
Yeah.
And that's part of the new bolt guide. So the bolt guide itself is much longer, integrates that anti-rollback feature, and then also changes the speed with the stages fire. So a gun like this has multiple stages of where air is released and where it's moved. So the redesigned bolt that you see the skirt here and the redesigned tip that you see in the bolt guide changes when that stage happens. So the bolt is actually accelerating from a stop slower. So when you're dealing with extremely brittle paint or cold temperatures where you have a very brittle shell, you're going to produce less microfractures in the ball and you'll have less barrel breaks. So again, in that extreme condition, you're going to get better function there. The anti-rollback feature also helps with smaller paint. As I mentioned, the extremes of very large and very small paint. So by changing this tip, we were able to re-angle our detents and allow as large as a 695 ball to drop completely free into the bolt. So you have very low chance, if at all, of skipping due to very large paint. And again, the rollback feature deals with the rollback. Locking into the system, same quarter turn. And one feature that was improved, what existed on the amp, was our flow restriction O-ring. So previously this was kind of a free-floating O-ring on the amp. What we've done is introduced two different slots here. In this forward position, you're restricting the airflow to that bolt movement. You can get the slowest, smoothest shot possible. If you move it to its rear position, you're going to be unrestricting that bolt flow. So you're going to be able to handle any temperature, any condition. And if you have a player that doesn't particularly take care of their marker, I've been able to cycle one of these with almost no lubrication in it whatsoever with that O-ring in the back location. So just a very simple change, introducing a better control over that flow that we initially instituted on the amp that we've perfected on the Era. Finally, one of the least obvious features, yet makes a big difference is barrel length. So when we changed the Freak barrel last year, we introduced the 15-inch Freak barrel. That carries now over to the amps. You have no holes in the back for contamination of the back of the barrel. And then we've gone to smaller porting, which is holding less paint, so it's going to shoot cleaner easier. But by extending the barrel full length, you actually end up with more porting, so you have a barrel that's able to shoot cleaner and does not lose any performance or change its sound signature. So it's not a process of reinventing the wheel, but it is a case of hundreds of hours of player feedback rolled into a platform that is significantly and relevantly better than its predecessor. So thank you very much for stopping by the Shocker booth. If you're a fan of Pro Edge Paintball, make sure you give them a look, and these will be available directly from them.
Yeah, shop Pro Edge online or in store. Thanks, guys, and thank you so much for going over this gun with us. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Enjoy.
Thank you.